George, about the egg episode in Sydney.
Yeah, we heard they'd been throwing eggs at somebody who was on before us, and when we got on stage there were remains of eggs around, and all the way through the act I was ducking and looking around to see if there was anybody throwing them at us, but as luck would have it, they didn't.
George, jelly babies have been thrown again, and does this worry you?
Yeah, I don't like them at all, because they're so dangerous when they come in big numbers like it does at a show of that size. If you get one in your eye, you're just blind, aren't you, for life?
Now you're in New Zealand, what are you looking forward to seeing?
I don't know. Have a look at a couple of Maoris, I suppose.
Anybody told you about these tikis that you have souvenirs of?
Yeah, well, we saw some in Tahiti, the tiki gods. And I don't know if these are going to be the same. Actually, John and I ordered 2 6-foot-high tiki gods made out of wood, 2 each.
How are you going to get them home?
Well, we ordered them in Tahiti and asked some fella to post them. So we don't know if they've got there yet.
John, you're looking forward to seeing your Aunt Mimi again?
Yes, I don't know whether I'll see her on this trip because the place she's staying at, she said, is miles away.
Will she be going back with you?
I don't think from this trip, no, we're joining her at Sydney, or Eric or Dave, somewhere like that.
John, what's your reaction to the Australian trip?
It was marvellous. Well worth the trip, and we hope to come back.
Correct. What about the circular stage at Sydney Stadium?
Well, it was a bit off-putting the first half of the first night. You don't know what's happening. You keep going one way and then going there, but you get used to it after a couple of days.
Ringo, we see that Jimmy Nichols had a lucky break back home. What do you think about that?
Well, he's having quite a few lucky breaks. All the best to him. Good old Jimmy.
So what do you think about this kiwi that's been given to you?
What kiwi? That thing they gave you when we got on the plane. That big monster. Marvellous.
That's a kiwi. That's a nearly extinct New Zealand bird.
Well, they're not that big really, are they?
No, they're about 10 inches tall.
Oh, well, this is about 3 foot. I knew it was a kiwi because it started polishing my shoes.
Paul singing in back.
Yeah, that's Paul singing at the back.
Hey, listen, what about the egg throwing at Sydney Stadium?
Well, nobody threw any at us, I don't think. Oh, yeah, fried them first. Yeah.
Ringo says he wishes they'd fried them first.
One night, somebody threw one at us. We didn't know, actually, till we got off. There was a bit of egg on my trousers. But they stopped throwing them by the time we got on. Anyway, we had people posted, so as soon as they threw them, we were going to get them dragged on stage and smash eggs all over the place, all over them.
A crowd of 7,000 greeted the Beatles as they landed in Wellington on June 21st. The boys were greeted by 6 Maori women, who gave them a traditional Maori greeting.
Kia ora.
Thank you very much for coming on 7 Days. Now, in the photo that we saw, was it the giant tiki that Paul McCartney was wearing? Is that the one that you gave him?
Yes.
It is. And were you the one standing to his left in the photo? Was that you in the sort of...
The outside.
The outside, yeah.
That is an enormous tiki.
They were intrigued with the tiki.
Yeah.
So the funny part was they wanted to know what it represented, because they're very chatty, very talkative. So we said to them with tongue in cheek, it's a fertility charm. Well, they loved the tiki even more.
Similar to their landings in Australia, the boys were put onto the back of a truck and waved to the crowd before being loaded into a sedan and driven to their hotel. "3,000 fans lined the route to the hotel, and there were some casualties. One girl was taken to hospital after cutting her leg attempting to climb a wire fence.
From the 3rd floor, all Doreen and I can see here at the St George Hotel is just a sea of faces. Doreen, how many people would you estimate are down there?
Oh, Peter, thousands.
Literally thousands of people, and my word, As we said down in the foyer, they seem to be in a very determined mood. Now they've barred the doors, the crowd is hammering on them, and there's this kind of uneasy ferment all through it. What do you think is going to happen when the Beatles arrive, Doreen?
Well, it's silly to say, Peter, but your guess is as good as mine.
There could be, don't you think, Doreen, a great likelihood of somebody being trampled if they did fall down in the thick of the crowd.
Well, I'm afraid it looks like that way, Peter. The crowd have now come from all corners.
At the hotel, the crowd was focused on the main entrance, while the Beatles were whisked into the bottle shop entrance. Soon afterwards, they appeared on the balcony, and two young men managed to climb the fire escape and make it to the balcony to shake Paul McCartney's hand.
And here are the Beatles. They're now just walking below us. Ringo Starr is right below us now. They're walking around the corner of the building on this low balcony. The crowd doesn't seem to have realized that that's them.
You were quick, Peter. I didn't even see them come.
I didn't realize it was them. They came very quickly and very quietly. They've walked round under the balcony. Half the crowd didn't notice them.
Much of the New Zealand leg of the Australasian tour was marred by a lack of police presence. The police's attitude was summed up by New Zealand's Inspector of Police, who told a member of the Beatles' entourage, "We didn't want them here. I don't know why you brought them."
Like being dragged through a crowd by a fellow 3 times your size.
Well, I didn't see anybody 17'9", did
He was a
you?
great big security corps, fellas.
Aye, I don't think he was 17'9", though, was he?
17'9", how tall are you?
Quick calculation. No, you should have worked that out, shouldn't you?
Well, I did.
Third of 17'9".
All right, come on.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did the fans react in Australia?
Marvellous, great.
Compared to the United States, however?
Roughly the same as the United States.
And England?
The same.
Do you find any difference with them?
Not up to now. There may be.
How are you liking this, of course? Is it going to your head at all?
No. Well, it goes to my ears, but...
Do you think you'll be able to do without it in times to come?
Oh, I don't know. When the time comes, we'll see, you know.
Somebody's hiding behind you, John.
I'm plugging in, giving him the lines to say.
George, you've travelled a lot of the world now. If you weren't living in England, is there any other place you'd like to live?
I wouldn't mind living in a place like, in America, in either Florida or California, in the hot bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't live there for all the year round, maybe for 1 or 2 months in a year, but I'd rather live in England.
George, do you all live together?
No. You mean in London? No, well, at the moment, I've got an apartment or a flat, whatever you call it out here. I've got one of those with Ringo. And John's married, of course. He's got one with his wife, and Paul's got another one. But, you know, Ringo and I, most of the fans think that we all live in the flat, in the one, and so when they find out, we've got to move on, you see, so we just keep moving.
Do you have to keep changing your address all the time?
Well, every few months we do. It just depends how bad it gets. But one time we had to have police on guard outside the door, and every time we wanted to go in or out, we had to phone the police and get them to clear the street. It was ridiculous.
Does this mean you can't have much fun, really?
Well, it's not that bad now, because we moved, you see, and they don't know where we are yet.
And you're not going to tell us?
We go out to places that we know we won't be bothered at. You know, we've got our own set of friends and a lot of nightclubs and restaurants that we go to, and well, we're all right.
You mentioned art school. Were you going to be an artist of some kind?
I went to art school because there didn't seem to be any hope for me in any other field, and it was about the only thing I could do, possibly. But I didn't do very well there either, because I'm lazy, you see. So that's the way it goes.
Did you use your art at all? Have you done any drawings?
I did the drawings for the book. That's the most amount of drawing I've done since I left college.
Is there anything you want to do and see while you're in New Zealand?
I want to see this stuff steaming out of the ground.
Rotorua. Will you get up there?
I don't know, we'll try.
Concerts in New Zealand began on the 22nd. During the first show, a young Maori boy evaded the security cordon and somehow leapt 10 feet from the front row seats onto the stage. At the second show, hundreds of hysterical teenagers surged from their seats towards the stage, and the full contingent of police and security guards worked to prevent a near riot. The security line was breached and Paul and Ringo were grabbed, although they showed their true trooper colours by smiling and continuing to play. Aside from the obvious lack of crowd control, the Beatles were disappointed by the poor sound system.
We don't like it, when the mics are not as good as normal. We have played on worse mics, mind you, but it's not very often. It's normally in the early days. We expected them to have better mics here, but actually Jerry warned us about the mics here because he had a lot of trouble. But the fellow said they're getting a new set in. Well, the new set wasn't much better from what we can work out, but he's going to try again tomorrow.
The large percentage of the audience couldn't even hear you, I feel, right around underneath the balcony.
Well, that was a drag, but we couldn't do anything about it.
A few of them were shouting, weren't they? Speak up and that. Nothing to do with us. They have crappy mics. What can we do?
The Hotel St George in Wellington. After their...
opened it. I said St George must have opened it.
That was John.
This is Paul. Hello, Bob.
And this is Ringo.
Hello, Bob.
Where's George?
He's writing a letter.
He's writing a letter home.
Yes.
Well, you've just started...
He's a good lad to his mum, is George.
How are your opening performances in New Zealand?
They were very different from Australian, because Australians, I think, are much wilder people anyway, It's very exciting to play a show in Australia. But here, it was a different kind of thing, because they're all very conservative. It was okay, though. I mean, nothing to complain about. Yes, mind you, the New Zealand people thought it was wild, but, I don't think you would have thought it was, comparatively speaking.
Yet, outside the hotel later, at about 11 o'clock when you made your appearance, they were quite wild, weren't they?
Yes, they seem wild from a distance. When you get near it seems to quiet them down. Now, they're good, but compared with most other places, they're very quiet.
I believe a policeman had some gashes in his leg when you left the hotel at 5:30. And there was a bit...
We didn't leave till 6:30. I don't know. I haven't heard about it. Oh, well, I hope not. Get well soon anyway.
A number of girls who burst through the cordon right at the end of your second show.
Yeah, that was exciting. It got a bit exciting towards the end of the second one. We were hoping they'd be up on stage dancing and things, but police got them back.
We've read since we left Melbourne that the Southern Cross Hotel has cut up the sheets in which you slept and given them to orphans.
Yes, well, it's a good idea, I think. At first I thought it was a daft idea, but as soon as they said, that it's going to a good cause and they're selling it to help all the orphans and things, I thought. Good idea, that. Good idea.
Now, John, your Aunt Mimi's reunited with you, and I believe has introduced you to some of your relatives. You've got more relatives here than in England.
I haven't, actually. I seem to have a lot everywhere. One gathers them. But, yes, I was reunited with her, but she's staying on here. Excuse me, Ringo was making a funny noise. I don't know exactly what he was doing. Bit of wind, I think. Don't you, Ringo?
After the shows, John's second cousin, Linda Matthews, was given the opportunity to meet the Beatles in their hotel room. I remember sitting on a bed in the Beatles hotel room, sipping whiskey and Coke, the Beatles' favourite tipple at that time. Meanwhile, 3 Wellington high school girls managed to clamber up a drain pipe in an attempt to meet their idols. While they had to be content with autographs in the corridor, I felt very privileged to have made it into the inner sanctum. It was a funny feeling knowing that because I was related to John, I was doing what thousands of young Kiwi girls would have given an arm and a leg to be able to do. While I was talking to John, the other Beatles walked in. Paul McCartney was amazed at the family resemblance. When it was time to go, John asked me to take care of Aunt Mimi.
Well, all right. He's gone down with a flu germ, and I believe there's a flu epidemic here. What would happen if any of you caught the flu?
We probably flew home.
How'd you like that one, Bob?
Oh, he's got a good...
Yeah. Yes, he has. Have you bought any souvenirs in New Zealand?
No, I bought a couple of Maoris, but don't tell anyone. Never get them through the customs.
We got a couple of plastic tikis given to us. Whatever happened to the real ones? You never seem to get the real ones, Bob. Always them plastic Japanese models.
Yes, well, they tell me that they have a very, great rite behind them, and they hide them and they bury them because they mean something That's the real marriage.
Fertility or something, isn't it?
Yes, well, I didn't want to discuss
We didn't
that.
want to discuss that, teenage program he's got. It's a bit
I don't
disgusting,
know.
all
I'm
that
quite
fertility.
already.
What? no, fertility, that's all potatoes and fertile crops and all. That's what it means, I think.
Just a minute, John.
We buried ours.
Buried
ours, yes.
Yeah, poor
Cheeky. Actually, I've got a very good turnip crop coming up this year. I'm hoping for good things.
Paul McCartney playing guitar.
While the Beatles were inside their hotel, a young woman and her mother had invited Mel Evans, along with members of Sounds Incorporated, over for tea. It had been a draining day. After the concert, with very few police officers assigned to crowd control, Mel had to jump from the Beatles' limousine and physically push fans aside to clear a path. So tea in a quiet New Zealand home was a welcome change. The atmosphere was warm and relaxed, and after a few weeks on the road, Mel was content to sit back with his feet up, enjoying conversation. Later, Sounds Incorporated and the young woman headed into town to party, but Mel stayed behind, choosing the comfort and hospitality of her mother. When he returned to the St. George at 2 a.m, police and detectives were waiting as the lift doors opened on his floor. After confirming his room number, they escorted him there in silence. Inside, he was horrified. The bedroom and bathroom were covered in blood. Only recently have the details of this incident been revealed in the recent biography of Mel Evans. In his diaries, he wrote, "Apparently what had happened was several people had gangbanged her in my bedroom. She was so distraught, she took a razor blade from my razor and slashed her wrists, but was discovered in time and recovered in hospital. Obviously, I was a prime suspect, but I had the best alibi in the world. I was drinking tea with her mother." The event predictably would be huge news, but Derek Taylor managed to get ahead of the story, affirming that there was absolutely no connection between the Beatles or any of their party and the young woman in question. He suggested that the woman had gained admission to the hotel by masquerading as a relative of a member of the party. In Wellington, they did meet relatives. Christine, Patricia, and Teresa Starkey chewed the fat with Ringo, and John's Aunt Mimi was visiting, and she spent some time staying with her cousin, Jim Matthews of Ekatahuna.
Hello, Bob. How are you? These three young ladies got in here, I don't know how. They're Julia, Catherine, and Patricia. Meet John Lennon.
I can only see one. How do you do? I'm offering my hand, but she won't. Oh, there you go. How are you?
A little overawed.
A little overawed. She looks quite confident to me.
John, you seem to have spent most of your extracurricular activities here, and how's that for a word, in Wellington?
I like it.
Yes, meeting relatives.
Yes, I met quite a batch. Ringo had quite a batch that he didn't even know, but I knew mine.
They flew to Auckland on the 24th and were underwhelmingly met by only 300 fans at the airport. 3,000, however, were there for the arrival at their hotel, which ended up causing the boys to be trapped in the car for 30 minutes, while Mal, Neil, and Lloyd Ravenscroft had to lock them inside and push it to the garage door, fighting off fans all the way. It took 20 minutes, and about 200 fans managed to get into the garage with them. They then had to throw the fans out one by one before the Beatles could get out and go to their rooms. Inside the hotel, the boys appeared on the balcony, and somehow a young girl had managed to make it onto the balcony and gave Ringo a kiss. With the consistent security concerns in New Zealand, John suggested that the Beatles would cancel the rest of the tour if crowd control wasn't more stringent. When Derek Taylor attempted to arrange for a police escort to the first of the Beatles' Auckland concerts, he was reminded that his entourage were not royalty, and as such should not expect special treatment. They did manage to safely play the 2 concerts on the 24th, and they had a party in the hotel room afterwards.
You never know, we've been trying to fix up something. I think we'll just sort of play it, as it goes, see if anything happens, if a chance comes up, and we'll be out.
Would you agree that whilst you're performing, the crowds here are quieter than they are in Australia, but afterwards and outside of these activities, they're wilder, and anything's liable to happen?
Yeah, well, they were in Wellington, because, of course, the last show in Wellington was pretty wild.
A young fella jumped up on stage and grabbed at you, but you went on singing. How did you feel? Did you think the thing was going to get out of hand?
No, because the thing is, when you look at them, the fellas and the girls who sort of jump up, you realise they're not going to belt you or anything, they're not trying to get you, really. They're just sort of coming up to say hello,
Have you heard about the furor that's been created in Auckland about the civic reception, which is costing £60 of the ratepayers' money?
Oh, my God, they should be broke after that. I've read about it, but it doesn't bother me one way or the other. We either go or we don't, we never ask for civic receptions. We don't expect them. People do it, we're flattered, but if they don't, that's that.
After what happened in Melbourne, you're probably not really looking forward to another city civic
I
reception.
enjoyed the one in Melbourne. The one in Melbourne was quite a good one. The Lord there was a great fella, and his wife and his daughters. And then all of a sudden, the press keeps saying we didn't enjoy it, we walked out. I walked around that floor shaking hands with everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, and Beatlemania. Somebody got a notice there, I love you, Robbie. I don't believe it. On your behalf, I want to thank the police and the Auckland City Council Traffic Department. We put this show on for you people. Come on, boys, let's have it. For John Lennon. Will you step, John? Paul McCartney. Ringo Starr. And George Harrison. We're going to have a performance for your entertainment by the Maori Country Concert Party, led by Abby Walker. like to thank everybody who's come along today for turning up. The sun's shining. So, I don't know what we can say, really, you know. Just wait to see the Maori dancers. And, yes. Chris Congo. Big head. Anyway, thank you on behalf of all of us. What? Can't sing. Sing. We can't. So, we'd like to thank everybody once again for this great welcome. Thank you. Now, say goodbye. Goodbye. Boys, let's have it.
During their show in Auckland that night, a call came into the Auckland police that a bomb would be planted on the Beatles plane out of Auckland bound for Dunedin. This resulted in a delay of their flight, but eventually they boarded the flight and flew to Dunedin, where again, very few policemen were tasked with controlling thousands of fans. When the Beatles arrived at their hotel, there was virtually no space for them to exit the car. John was the last to get out, and Dunedin broadcaster Neil Collins remembers the police picking John up and throwing him through the front door. I mean that. He was airborne when he reached that lift, and he was wearing leather pants and he cut his knee open on the iron of the lift. John stormed up to his room on the 3rd floor and refused to attend the press conference. He had had a clump of hair pulled out and Paul was scratched on the face. After things calmed down, they recorded an interview with Bob Rogers.
Wait till we get to Mumble's Ringo.
Now, what are you talking about, Mumble?
You were mumbling over there. What do you think about that?
What do you think? And then two of us happened to talk together, and you missed me completely and give the mic to Paul.
Yeah.
I don't like it when you do that to me, Bob. Why'd you hurt?
You've been talking about a new EP, and I have news that the extended play will include Matchbox on it.
Yes, I'm featured on it. Actually, it was written by Carl Perkins about 6 years ago.
He was at the session.
Yeah, Carl came to the session, actually. I felt very embarrassed. I did it just 2 days before I went to hospital, so...
Very good.
Please forgive my throat.
As long as you don't mind, we'll carry on, will we?
Can we elucidate on your film and the songs therein, and do you have a favourite song in the film called A Hard Day's Night?
And I loved it. And I love her. Yeah, I love
do you like that?
I love
thanks, Ringo.
And the way you sing it knocks me out.
And the way that camera goes over your head.
Oh, you should see that shot of Wilson.
Hello. I like If I Fell.
If I Fell. That's an, I like that one as well.
All about that one.
That's
nice.
But
they're all nice.
They're all quite. I like
They're
them
very
all.
big-headed about their tunes. You know, it's amazing.
It's not big-headed, isn't it?
The man asked us a simple.
He asked us if we liked them.
Why is Ringo picking on me?
Listen, I'm not picking on you, John.
You are,
Ringo.
No, I'm just sitting here trying to do an interview with
friend.
Rob Bodgers.
I'm your friend.
And here you go, picking on me in public.
And we're in New Zealand, where there's been a definite anti-Beatles spirit in certain areas. I don't know whether the Beatles have noticed this or not.
How can you say that? We've had a few complaints about in Auckland because the mayor wanted to give us a civic reception, and as usual, a few fuddy-duddies thought, well, they're not royalty, don't give them one. But the mayor was very good, and he said, you know, those people should go to pot.
Anywhere you go, you know, but it's not serious. It's just one or two nuts in the crowd with little banners shouting, you know.
And then there was the police superintendent who didn't want to give you an escort. Did you hear about that?
Yes, we heard about that.
They don't
He
seem
just
to
didn't want to help
realise,
us,
do they,
Ringo.
that they're not giving us an escort, really. They're giving the crowd protection against themselves.
Another thing, of course, you get the hanged on. Then we go to America, and we got a tour of Britain, and then a Christmas show at the Hammersmith Odeon.
Paul always rescues it on the serious side. You notice how conscientious he always
Well,
is.
you see,
very
Bob,
conscious.
I've got to try and answer your question seriously. If you don't want me to, Bob, I'm very happy not to.
Just observing. Just observing, Paul.
Robert.
What do you think of New Zealand food?
Well, Scotch is all right. It's all right, I suppose. It's edible.
New Zealand butter is famous. In fact, your Aunt Mimi, John, buys it in England, I
No, she does her hair in it. It's an amazing fact, actually.
There's George doing it.
George doing a bit of R&B backing.
I think he's plugging matchboxes. He's shaking a matchbox.
Very good, Rob.
That's right, yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Howdy-ho-dy, everybody.
Catchphrase.
Hello, everybody listening. This is George Harrison of the Bottles.
Hello, everybody. As Bob would say, this is John Lennon of the Beatles saying...
Hello, everybody. This is Paul McCartney speaking. Very, very correct.
Hello, everybody. This is Ringo speaking.
Right.
Correct.
No, right.
Correct.
I'm changing it. You're still picking on me, Ringo.
I'm not picking on you, John. You keep trying to put words into my mouth.
I know, because there's nothing coming out.
Sir, there's no need for that.
When the Beatles left Dunedin to head to Christchurch, the police took them on a route to the airport that was different to the one published in the paper. In Christchurch, they stayed at the Clarendon, a grand old hotel where the Queen had once stayed. Once again, female fans used all the usual tactics to get inside to meet them, such as hiding in laundry baskets. But the mania was such that as the Beatles' car got near the hotel, a 13-year-old girl lunged at the vehicle and was knocked down. She was taken inside the hotel and, for her trouble, got to meet the Beatles. At their concerts in Christchurch, the boys were pelted by jelly babies and also marbles. And for their last day in New Zealand, they didn't leave the hotel.
Your tie's in my drink, sir. There you go.
Do you mind if I suck the end of it? No.
You can have a drink if you like. Do you want a drink?
Fine, very good. Tell me, have you ever, I don't suppose you keep a little book of the number of hours you've spent in aircraft since you started?
No, I hate aeroplane. Well, I'm getting to hate them.
We
anyway.
all hate them.
It's all right once you're there, but the bit in between while you're travelling is a drag. I seem to spend most of my life on planes.
Especially the bit landing and taking off. And the bit where you go through clouds and the plane bangs around and...
The landing and the taking off is where something can happen.
Well, there's only two ways down, fast or slow. If it's fast, don't bother me. To plug George's song. So, Stan,
John, Ted, Harry, Ted's right.
Yeah.
George's song, hang on, that rings a bell.
Don't Bother Me, it's called. It's on our LP. Very good song.
And if you play it on your radio station and fill in the performance rights coupon, I'll get an extra tuppence for all that.
Well, George, Ringo, thank you very much indeed. It won't be all that long before Sydney. Transferring straight to an aircraft for Brisbane, is it?
Chartered plane.
I hope so. As soon as we get out of the sky, the better.
We'll see what Malcolm's got jacked up for you in Brisbane anyway. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, well, that's off the record.
Well, cheerio, Ted. Good to meet you and all that. Hope to see you again.
Goodbye.
Fine. If you come back to New Zealand, gentlemen, we certainly hope that there won't be... Well,
we certainly hope they got rid of that egg throwing if we ever come back.
I agree.
I think that was a disgusting display of bad manners.
And unfortunately, it only takes half a dozen people to do it.
That's the trouble, but the thing is...
It only took 2.
Yeah.
Well, there was only about 3 eggs.
Actually, I didn't mind the eggs. I thought it was quite funny. It's
you
just
didn't get
that
hit.
I didn't get hit. No, but it's just the idea that if the fella had come into our room with his eggs and let's have a fair fight with eggs.
He's got to hide behind all the other people. That's the drag. There's one in every. There's a few in every town of these lunatics. They're just soft heads anyway. I just hate them. What will I do? You come all this way, to sort of entertain.
Come all this way.
All this way I've
all
come
this
to entertain people,
flying.
and there's a little crowd of stupid lads.
2 there were, Ringo.
2, well, a little crowd of 2 lads, and they throw eggs. I mean, they want the irons kicking.
Well,
I'll kick it if I get hold of him.
On behalf of the other 2,499,998, I apologise.
I've got all my love. I love the crowds. I love the audiences and all our fans.
Do you like me?
I like you too, George. Not actually love. It's sort of I like.
Friendly.
George is very friendly if you get to know him. He may seem quiet, but he's all right.
Well, I'll let you two carry on this mutual admiration society.
Are you sure you won't have a drink, Jim?
I won't.
I was born on the 9th of October in 1940, when I believe the Nazis were still bombing us, led by Adolf Hitler. Anyway, they didn't get me. I attended various schools in Liverpool, and still, I didn't pass much, to my anti-surprise. As a member of the most publicised Beatles, my and BG&R records might seem funnier to some of you than this book, but as far as I'm concerned, this correction of short writings is about the most wonderful laugh that I've ever read. It's surprising, actually. It didn't read like that the first time I read it.
No, nor me.
But, well, I suppose you read things into it, and this is the way it's turned out this time.
John, Paul translated that for us. Do you think we could have a...
Upon landing in Brisbane, the crowd pelted the group with eggs, tomatoes and bits of wood. One of the culprits was future Australian MP, Bob Catter.
That bloke called Gary Williams kicked the door open. He said, "We're going to egg the Beatles, get your gear on." And I said, "Why do we want to throw eggs to the Beatles?" He said, "Well, you got anything better to do?" No, I haven't. So anyway, we went through eggs to the Beatles. And of course, we were international news. And I took it upon myself to do the interviews. I said it was a sort of an intellectual reaction against Beatlemania. At some stage, someone had to stand up. Sounded pretty good.
If you get the chance, would you throw the eggs and tomatoes back?
If I had the chance,
I'd probably have a go. And John,
I'd prefer to find out why they actually do it and get them back. And then smash the hell out of them.
I expected it to be much hotter and, more skyscrapers, more American.
I thought there'd be more flying doctors.
In the evening, they played to 2 full houses of 5,500 people. But once again, they were pelted by eggs. After the show, the Beatles and 20 Brisbane girls partied till the early hours, dancing to Motown records. On their last full day in Australia, Paul and George secretly left the hotel and headed to Tambourine Mountain, a resort in the Darlington Range. They drove themselves around and stopped at Curtis Falls and also the Eagle Heights Hotel for lunch. While they were sightseeing, Ringo and John slept in and watched A Bell for Adano on the TV. In the evening after the show, they had a farewell party full of models and DJs. George, Paul and Ringo retired to bed at about 2 a.m, but John stayed up, completely wired, talking to guests until 6:30 a.m. Radio host Tony MacArthur recalled the party. It was God knows what time in the morning, and John and I had done some serious damage to a bottle of Johnny Walker, and I thought, I've got to go to sleep because I have to be on air in a couple of hours. But then in came Derek Taylor with 5 glamorous girls, and it all started again.
George, you're going back to England and to Liverpool to see your film.
Yeah.
Have you actually seen the film yet?
Yeah, we saw it just before we came away. It wasn't completely finished. It was more or less finished. It had the very first opening shot missing and a lot of the sound effects and background
Were you
music.
impressed by the Beatles acting?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to look at it, you know.
It's been good. The audiences have been great.
You've had a couple of episodes, but that's
yeah, but they're
something
just,
else.
you know, we've forgotten all about that now. It's just 4 people out of 6,000, you know, so you don't bother with it. I hope it's a complete year. Anyway.
What was your reaction this morning when the girls broke through the barriers up there? Did you see them?
I only saw one really, and the police had all of her, you know. They're all right, you know. They don't mean us any harm. But if the police let 1 or 2 through, then everyone will come, and someone could get hurt with all the planes and the cars and that, you know. That's why they keep them back.
George, what's your overall opinion of this tour? Has it been enjoyable?
It's been a successful tour, I think. Yeah, it's been enjoyable, you know, as far as tours go. I mean, naturally there's the bit up in the morning onto the aeroplane that's, you know, we never enjoy that, travelling about, but it's good getting around, seeing all the places, and mainly letting them see us, letting the people see us.
Somebody's at me again. Come on, you come in too, because we've missed you so far.
Oh, yeah. Have you missed me?
I've spoken to you before.
I'm the quiet one of this trip. Yeah, he's in the way, isn't he? Get out the way.
What's been your reaction to this tour itself?
The people are great. I don't think I've met any funny people that I didn't like, even the egg throwers that we met. It turned out to be quite okay. Get down, will you? We're on telly here.
What about this egg throwing business? Is that something you just take in your stride and don't worry about?
Oh, there's always egg throwing, whether they actually throw eggs or not in places, you know. There's always some...
It's not the general reaction of people, it's just one or two try that kind of thing.
There's always people do that, whatever's happening, you know.
Have you ever checked eggs yourself? That's the
no, I don't think it's a good way of expressing yourself. I wouldn't go, or I'd do something else I wanted to demonstrate against something. I wouldn't
What's
throw
the first
eggs.
thing you're going to do when you get home?
Sleep.
No, it was a very nice place, you know, Australia. Love the people. I've enjoyed myself, definitely. The audience has been fantastic. In fact, everything about it, the press and, you know, the interviewers, I'm just flattering him now. But even so, you know, the interviewers and people have been very nice.
Do you think
and
you'll
I've
come
enjoyed.
back?
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, I don't know when because there are no plans. But
What have you liked most of all here?
Pardon?
What have you liked most of all here?
I don't know really. You know, the people were marvellous. The girls, fantastic. Love those girls.
Safe trip home.
Thanks very much. And get your hand off my knee.